Good.
Please be seated. My name is David Nuremberg. I'm the new dean of the Divinity School. And on behalf of the Divinity School faculty and together with the entire Swift Hall community, it's my pleasure to welcome you here, graduates, family members, friends, fellow students, to the special graduation ceremony of the Divinity School in conjunction with the 531st Convocation of the University of Chicago. William Rainey Harper, the first president of the University of Chicago, whose portrait, if you've ever been in the dean's office, presides over the dean's office with a stern frown, believed in having 4 convocations a year. He didn't think that, that anyone who finished a degree should have to wait to receive the degree. And he was, by the way, a biblical scholar and a very firm friend of the Divinity School. He was insistent upon this 4 convocations a year. And until recently, about 2 years ago, that's what we did. So this is a 531st convocation, which might lead you to think we're as old as Salamanca, Bologna, Oxford, Cambridge, Paris. Once we got respectively close to them, we stopped. Now we have 1 convocation a year. We're not as old as Paris, but we do have our own traditions we care a great deal about. And I just call it a graduation. That's so un-Chicago. This convocation ceremony here on the quasi-sacred grounds of Swift Hall is one of those most dear ceremonies to celebrate your hard-earned accomplishments. We're glad to see all of you here, many of you who have come a long distance. Thank you for joining us in celebration. Joining me on the podium today are members of the Divinity School faculty, and I will introduce them by name. Please stand when I call your name. Ryan's not here. Ryan's not here. Excuse me. Christine Culp, Associate Professor of Theology and Dean of the Disciples Divinity House. Wendy Doniger, Mircea Eliade, Distinguished Service Professor of the History of Religions. Paul Mendez-Flor, Dorothy Grant McLear, Professor of Modern Jewish History and Thought. Sarah Hammerschlag, Associate Professor of Religion and Literature, Philosophy of Religions and History of Judaism. Cynthia Gano-Linder, Director of Ministry Studies and Clinical Faculty for Preaching and Pastoral Care. Richard Miller, Laura Spellman Rockefeller Professor of Religious Ethics. Margaret M. Mitchell, Shaler Matthews Professor of New Testament and Early Christian Literature.
Susan.
I'm doing Susan Schreiner, Professor of the History of Christianity and Theology. William Schweiker, Edward L. Ryerson, Distinguished Service Professor of Theological Ethics. Jeff Stackert, Associate Professor of Hebrew Bible. And it's also my special pleasure to introduce my colleague Joshua Ferguson, Dean of the Students in the Divinity School, who will add his words of greeting.
Thank you, Dean Nuremberg, and welcome to our graduates, your families, friends, and loved ones on this very special day. This ceremony is my first as Dean of Students, and so it is a particularly special one. I join with Dean Nuremberg, all of the faculty and staff, and the many people who have supported you on your journey in celebrating with you as together we mark this major milestone in your life. You have each worked hard and diligently to arrive at this day, and we are all so very proud of your accomplishments. I also want to add that many people have given their time and talents to make this ceremony possible, and in particular, I want to thank my colleagues in the Dean of Students Office, America Huckabee, and Associate Dean of Students, Anita Lumpkin, as well as Sarah Bigger, Barbara Palmer-Bostic, Tara Wine, Bill Gerasi, and Associate Dean Sandra Peppers, who have all been instrumental in arranging the many details of today's events. Again, welcome and congratulations.
The Divinity School was founded in 1891 as the graduate professional school for the academic study of religion at the University of Chicago. The school educates students in the profession of studying and speaking about religion in an intelligent, knowledgeable, critical, rigorous, engaged, and honest way. Those are attributes that are not always found in discussions of religion. Swift Hall has hosted this critical, engaged, honest, and rigorous study of religion, this conversation about religion across the widest possible range of perspectives about religion, both past and present, in its many manifestations. And it's always set that discussion in the midst of a great research university, the University of Chicago, in case you had any doubt about which one I meant. So that has made the discussion, I think, a uniquely interesting, productive, fruitful one for all of our graduates over the course of now well over a century. And so each of our graduates has contributed to the flourishing of knowledge about religion very much in the way that the university's motto exhorts us to, crescat scientia vita excolator, let knowledge grow so that human life may flourish. We will now proceed to honor each of you, graduates. This year, we had a larger number than usual of graduates, which occasioned this double ceremony. At a ceremony earlier today, we recognized 24 doctors of philosophy. And now we will award degrees to a total of 27 graduates of our MA and MDiv programs. Will the MA graduates please stand? We now recognize the achievements of these 21 graduates who earlier today were awarded the degree of Master of Arts in Divinity by the Board of Trustees at the university. These students have completed a 2-year course of study introducing them to the substance and method of academic inquiry into the subject of religion in its multiple manifestations. These graduates, through coursework, language study, independent research, and extracurricular engagement, have attained a genuine breadth of acquaintance with the methods for the study of religion and fundamental knowledge in their chosen area of concentration. In recognition of this accomplishment, it's my pleasure to present you with your diploma. Professor Sarah Hammerschlag, who is the director of MA Studies, will present you with a small gift from the Divinity School in the form of a University of Chicago pin, now your alma mater. So please hold your applause until the end of the presentation.
Okay. Kelly, Schumann, and Dino. Francesco Bianco. William Hart Brown. Irema Halilovic. Curran Ray Holmes, Jr. Kellen Peter Klaus. John Kreitzberg. Sarah Beth Landis Levinston. Megan Mariana Mehar. Christoph Zoltan Oltvai. Elizabeth Rose Stair. And we skipped one. We'll go back in order. I'm sorry about that. Joseph Allen Morrison. Hooray. Okay. Get my place. Joel Howard Swanson. Dante Lerome Thrasher. Samantha Ann Truman. And Anna Lee White. Congratulations.
Amen to that. Will the MDiv graduates please stand? We now celebrate the accomplishments of these 6 students who earlier today were awarded the Master of Divinity degree by the Board of Trustees of the university. These students have completed a demanding course of study toward professional competence in public religious leadership, including coursework across the Divinity School and the university, dedicated courses in the significance of religious experience, community, and discourse, attention to practice in the arts of ministry, and 2 attendant engagements in field education, and a senior ministry project and public presentation thereof that represents original research in the arts of ministry. They are trained for the profession of ministry, and that is the word profession in its original etymological sense. It's my pleasure to present you with the diploma you have earned. Professor Cynthia Lindner, Director of Ministry Studies, will present you with a small gift from the University of Chicago Divinity School, a pin in honor, a recognition of your alma mater. Again, please hold your applause until the end of the presentation, and perhaps you can sit momentarily until you're called. I'm following the directions in the script. I think you should just stand.
Okay. Luke Morgan Allgaier. You got the musical accompaniment for your thing. Jonathan Hamilton Cahill. Colton Dean Lott. Joshua John Menke. Renita Quenica Ward. Virginia Johnston White.
Amen. Each year, the Joseph Gray Rend Award is presented to a graduating Master of Divinity student or students. This year, I'm delighted to present the award to Luke Allgaier. Luke, please come forward. The Rend Award was established... The Rend Award was established by the University trustee and Divinity School Visiting Committee member James Rend in honor of his father, who was a Presbyterian pastor and teacher. The Rend Award is presented to, and I now quote from the citation, an advanced student in the ministry program at the Divinity School whose excellence in academic and professional training gives notable promise of a significant contribution to the life of the church. Luke, congratulations. Before we depart, I'd like to take advantage of this opportunity I have to address to you a few words, to you whom we honor and recognize today, as you stand on the threshold of a new phase of your lives. Anthropologists call this moments of threshold liminal, from the Latin limen for threshold. And the great University of Chicago anthropologist Victor Turner dedicated his life to studying these rituals of what he called betwixt and between. Our ceremony today is just such a formal performance, marked by ceremonial entry into and out of this sacred space of Swift Hall, repetition of ritual formulas, and of course, the wearing of your liturgical vestments. These vestments, and indeed many aspects of this ritual, have roots stretching down to the Middle Ages. Your gowns, hoods, caps, tassels, mortarboards, titles, all have accumulated meaning over the centuries. Some of that meaning you've already heard expressed in the formulas invoked over each of you today at the ceremony on the quads, welcoming you to membership in ancient and honorable companies. Today's ceremonies do not merely transfer to you a transcript or a professional certification, they usher you into a community of learning. That community includes everyone who has ever, from when universities were first established in the 12th century until today, everyone who has ever experienced the discipline of a faculty. And we know that that discipline can be a hard discipline indeed, and emerged with a degree of master or doctor. Of course, not all those degrees have been from the University of Chicago, only the best ones, but all have shared the common ideal of subjecting opinion, prejudice, authority, dogma, and expedience to the test of critical thought. As you know, that test is not an easy one. The ancient Greeks used to say that one must suffer into learning. It sounds better in Greek because it rhymes, pathein, mathein. Many resources, material, intellectual, emotional, are required to join the honorable company you have entered. One among those many resources is time, by which I mean not only the considerable time it takes to get an advanced degree, but more importantly, the special sensibility toward time that the kind of thinking you've been doing these past years requires. The ability to set aside the constant calls of the world around us, to step out of the demands of the immediate present, and to dwell in the longer term of a complex field or a difficult problem. Today's ceremony marks, alas, your departure from a special space of thought, although perhaps only a temporary departure. A space in which even the architecture constantly reminds us that the timescales of our inquiry and our research are somehow different from those of the everyday world. There's a reason why our architecture is Gothic and why so many great universities have chosen the same. No matter what road you take when you process out of these doors in a minute, you will enter a world whose clocks tick to a different rhythm, a world where the rumbling of the present feels louder and sometimes threatens to fill all the space available for thought. I don't want to delay your entry into that world any further, but as you enter it, I want to remind you only of the obligation that comes with being part of our company. You, your families, your faculty, indeed society as a whole, have all made enormous sacrifices so that you could step outside of time and gain the power to question and, if necessary, to transform the convictions and certainties of the present about religion. As you step out of today's ritual and back into the flow of worldly time, wearing your medieval gowns, mortarboards, and hoods, your obligation is never to forget that power and to use it whenever and wherever the world needs it most. As for me, it's not my obligation, but rather my honor, my privilege, and my joy to thank you for having chosen to join us in our community of study, to congratulate you on behalf of the Divinity School and the University of Chicago, and to lead our procession back into a world that awaits and that desperately needs you. That procession will quite literally begin now.